Living in America in 2025 feels like you're trying to breathe while someone's hand is over your mouth and they're charging you rent for it. As soon as you get paid, it's gone. You buy groceries and the bags are lighter. You fill your tank and the needle mocks you. Food's up, rent's up, insurance, utilities, coffee. Even your damn toothpaste is up. Everything's up except the paycheck.
So I know everybody is feeling this, but how are we doing this? I am in my 30s. I have my master's in business administration. My husband is an engineer. We should be making great money and be golden when it comes to money, right? That's what I was raised thinking. And instead, just like everybody else, we are living paycheck to paycheck. It is so hard.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't.
The way the cost of living has gone up is fucking crazy. A 1-bedroom apartment is damn near $2,000 a month, which is crazy. Like, what?
What I'm about to show you is absolutely crazy. So just indulge me for a second. I'm going to draw you a picture, okay? I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The minimum wage here is $7.25 an hour. Overtime after 40 hours worked is time and a half. That equals out to $10.88 an hour after 40 hours worked. At 40 hours a week, you'd be making $290 a week, and that is $1,160 per month. That's $15,080 per year before tax. In Philadelphia, you get about 81% of your income after taxes. So after taxes per month, you'd be making $939.60.
Hey everyone. I'm not gonna lie, this one hits close to home. Because whether you're 22 or 42, if you've ever looked at the price of rent lately and felt your stomach drop, you're not alone. We are in a full-blown cost of living crisis, and it's not just about high prices. It's about an entire generation or two being locked out of basic independence. Millennials and Gen Z are being priced out of their lives, out of apartments, out of homes, out of the future they were promised. Today, we're going to dive deep into why young people can't move out, how inflation is quietly destroying financial stability, why renting requires a fantasy salary, and what it actually means when more and more people are forced to live with their parents or worse, end up homeless. This one's going to be a ride. So buckle up. Let's break it all down.
Living in America in 2025 feels like you're trying to breathe while someone's hand is over your mouth and they're charging you rent for it. As soon as you get paid, it's gone. You buy groceries and the bags are lighter. You fill your tank and the needle mocks you. Food's up, rent's up, insurance, utilities, coffee. Even your damn toothpaste is up. Everything's up except the paycheck. Oh, and everything's also smaller. Shrinkflation? Yeah, that's the way they rob you while smiling in your face. You're not imagining it. The box is smaller. The portions are skimpier. The price is higher, and you're supposed to eat it with a smile. This isn't bad budgeting. This isn't laziness. This is a rigged game where everyone at the top profits and everyone at the bottom is a slave. We're getting taxed, drained, and blamed every step of the way. If you feel it too, you're not crazy. You're just living in America in 2025. And it's fucking brutal.
So I know everybody is feeling this, but how are we doing this? I am in my 30s. I have my master's in business administration. My husband is an engineer. We should be making great money and be golden when it comes to money, right? That's what I was raised thinking. And instead, just like everybody else, we are living paycheck to paycheck. It is so hard. We have a house. We were lucky enough to get a house. I know a lot of people can't do that and haven't had that opportunity. But our house mortgage has gone up $400 or $500 since when we first bought it. Property taxes, they just keep going up and up. So with that, our mortgage just keeps climbing too. We have 2 kids. With kids comes diaper prices, comes formula, comes everything else that comes with it, including daycare. Daycare. We were able to find a daycare that's actually pretty inexpensive compared to a lot of other daycares. And even with that, it is still costing more than our mortgage does every month. I'm just so tired. And I know everybody is in the same boat too. Prices are going up for literally everything. Everything. But when it comes to pay, our paychecks will go up, a couple percent, but nothing compared to inflation on everything. I just don't understand how we keep doing it. And where's the breaking point? Where does that come in? When do things turn around? Because there's no end in sight. Everything that the government has put forth lately is only going to make things more expensive for us in the long run. And again, I say this knowing that we are still very privileged. We still have a lot of things that other people do not, but it's still just such a struggle. You know, we're given this promise basically when we're younger that if you get the degree and you do this and do that right, then like you'll be set, you'll be golden when it comes to money and not have to worry about it. And then to grow up and face the fact that all of that's bullshit. Like they fed it into being such a lie and such a trap basically that everybody is just buried in different student loans. Everybody is buried in different kinds of debt that we'll never get out of, that they promised us would create a safe and happy, thriving future. None of it's there. So thanks, boomers and beyond. You set us up great.
Let's start with the big picture. Why are so many millennials and Gen Z adults still living at home? According to Pew Research, more young adults are living with their parents now than at any time since the Great Depression. Not because they're lazy, not because they want to, but because they simply can't afford to leave. In cities across America, studio apartments are going for $1,800. Even in rural towns, you're lucky to find anything under $1,200. And if you're making $16 an hour, or even $20, you're burning your whole paycheck just to keep a roof over your head. Add in student loans, car payments, and just basic survival costs. Gas, groceries, insurance, and there's nothing left. So you move back home. Or worse, you never get to leave. It's not a failure. It's a symptom of an economy that has failed you.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning. All right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point. All right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I can afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making 6-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are one-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had, right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot at the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
I don't know who's buying all this new construction, but it sure as hell ain't nobody I know. I don't know where y'all live, but where I'm at, they're building like everywhere. New townhomes, new condos, new luxury apartments, new shopping plazas, new everything. But this the thing. None of it's affordable. Homes starting at $450,000, $600,000. And don't even ask about the rent prices. Interest rates damn near 7%. Wages ain't moved. Groceries are sky high. But somehow they still keep building. So I keep asking myself, well, who is all this building for? It's sure not for the folks that already live there. It's not for single moms. Definitely ain't for retirees. And not the working class people that are already barely holding on. So tell me, who's buying this? Who are they building for? 'Cause it ain't us, y'all. It feels like we're getting pushed out of our own neighborhoods while somebody else cashes in. Drop a comment if you notice the same thing where you live. 'Cause something ain't adding up, y'all.
Now let's talk rent. Because if you've tried renting lately, you already know it's brutal. Landlords today aren't just asking for first and last month's rent. They want 3x your monthly income, a perfect credit score, and sometimes even 6 months of pay stubs. If rent is $2,000, you're expected to earn $6,000 a month. That's $72,000 a year, just to qualify. Do you know how many people actually make that? Not many. Not teachers. Not baristas. Not entry-level tech workers. Not even some full-time nurses or social workers. So what do people do? They get roommates. They split a 2-bedroom with 3 or 4 people. Or they stay with family. Or worse, they rent illegally or live in their cars. The system is so broken that even renting, the so-called stepping stone to adulthood, is no longer accessible for the average American.
The cost of living is the highest it's ever been, and people still have the nerve to say that we're just not budgeting enough. Oh, if you cut back on luxuries like electricity and going to visit your family, then you should be good. Jobs are purposely not hiring people so that they can hoard money, and people are still like, oh, you're just not applying to 100 jobs a day. That's the real problem. People so badly want this to be an individual failure so that they don't have to admit that this is a societal failure. Our society is setting us up to struggle and be poor so that the rich can get richer.
Why do you think homelessness hasn't been declared a national emergency in this country? Nearly 800,000 unhoused people isn't an emergency? Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that capitalism would cease to exist without an extremely impoverished class of people? Or the fact that it directly benefits the ruling class? They wouldn't allow us to be unhoused just so they can hoard multiple lifetimes worth of extreme wealth that even their great-great-grandchildren would never be able to spend. They wouldn't do that. Out of every 10,000 Americans, 23 of them are unhoused, the highest number ever recorded by HUD. And that number is rapidly increasing. Powers that be would have us believe this is just economic stress, not systemic failure. They don't care that every number represents a life at risk. Kids, seniors, disabled, it won't be declared a national emergency unless the ruling class finds a way to profit from it. COVID got an emergency status to protect the economy. Banks got one in 2008. Ukraine and Israel get billions overnight. Even gas prices have received urgent attention in the past. But millions of people without a place to sleep? No urgency, no mobilization, no compassion. When an extreme weather event displaces that many people, we call it a disaster. Not only does capitalism need an extremely impoverished class of people from which to extract and exploit, but that class of people, unfed, unhoused, unshowered, desperate, they also serve another purpose, keeping us too afraid to fail at the capitalist market. So afraid, we're willing to compromise even our own morals, just to remain housed. Thousands of unhoused people die every year from exposure, and on average, unhoused people die 30 years younger than housed people. The real kicker is the overwhelming abundance of resources that we actually have that could easily fix this problem. For starters, how many houses sit empty? Well, enough for every unhoused person to have 2 or 3. Homelessness keeps labor desperate. A rapidly increasing unhoused population in this country means more pressure on the working class to accept low wages, poor working conditions, abusive employers. We could declare a national emergency and open the door to funding, but that public spending bypasses profit, so the government could easily use emergency powers like that under the Stafford Act or the Defense Production Act. The government could actually force industries to produce for public need. They could build a bunch of houses, but that would set a precedent that people's needs come before profit. And the ruling class can't have that. Besides that, declaring a national emergency would force them to admit that the system is failing. If the U.S. government admits that homelessness is systemic failure, then it completely undermines the myth that capitalism works, that the American dream is alive, and that the system is fair. Real estate developers, private landlords, corporate housing hoarders, and Airbnb owners. They all make more money when housing is scarce and desperation is high. Homelessness helps keep prices up and competition brutal. Emergencies are only declared when the wealthy class is affected. Wall Street loses money? Emergency. COVID hits the economy? Mobilization. A storm floods luxury homes? Well, federal aid's coming fast. But when it's just the poor working class people dying in the streets, well, that's just business as usual. The Defense Production Act was used during COVID to help Wall Street. Vacancy taxes, eminent domain, land seizures, those things are just there to enrich the capitalist class, the wealthy. We won't end homelessness or even pretend to because they need it. They need us scared, insecure, and overworked. The issue is not money or logistics, it's a class issue. Government could end homelessness, but to them, a housed working class is a secure working class, and a secure working class might demand higher wages or better working conditions. Homelessness is not an accident. It's not a natural part of life, and it is solvable. It's a political choice and one that they make every single day. For anyone who's not familiar with Finland's Housing First program and how wildly successful that has been, you should go check it out.
What about buying a home? Forget it. Homeownership, once the American dream, is now a fantasy. The median home price in the U.S. is hovering around $430,000. And with interest rates bouncing between 6% and 8%, your monthly mortgage on a modest home could be over $3,000. Banks want high credit scores, massive down payments, low debt-to-income ratios. But in a world where everything from groceries to health insurance costs more, who has anything left to save? And here's the kicker. Home prices keep rising because corporate landlords are buying everything. Hedge funds and real estate companies are snatching up properties, turning family homes into forever rentals. So millennials and Gen Z aren't just priced out, they're being systematically shut out. We're not just facing a housing affordability issue, we're staring down a housing ownership extinction event.
What I'm about to show you is absolutely crazy. So just indulge me for a second. I'm going to draw you a picture, okay? I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The minimum wage here is $7.25 an hour. Overtime after 40 hours worked is time and a half. That equals out to $10.88 an hour after 40 hours work. At 40 hours a week, you'd be making $290 a week, and that is $1,160 per month. That's $15,080 per year before tax. In Philadelphia, you get about 81% of your income after taxes. So after taxes per month, you'd be making $939.60. Okay, now hear me out because I'm just trying to prove a point here. If you worked 80 hours a week, which no position is offering you, just for posterity, you'd be making $725.20 per week, $2,980 per month before taxes, $37,710.40 per year before taxes. Per month after taxes, you'd be making around $2,349.64 after taxes. The average rent for a one-bedroom in Philadelphia is $1,425, but you know they require you to make 3 times the rent per month. So that is $4,275. You're not getting that, even at 80 hours a week. On minimum wage, you're not getting a one-bedroom apartment at the average rate. The absolute cheapest thing I found on Zillow just now was a studio apartment with no appliances, just a toilet and in a room, basically, for $950 a month. Times 3, $2,850. You're not even getting that. You're not even getting the cheapest unit that I found for rent in the entire city. A room with a toilet in it. You don't even qualify. You don't. Now, mind you, I have not even talked about bills, heating, electricity, car, insurance, health insurance, fucking food, for God's sakes. And if your argument is, oh, well, minimum wage jobs are for teenagers, why don't you go to college? Okay, do you want to talk about the price of college? Do you want to talk about finding somewhere to live while you're in college? And this is not even my situation. I make enough money, I'm comfortable, but it doesn't take much for me to sympathize with somebody that's not in my situation. So try sympathy before you tell me that we shouldn't raise the minimum wage, okay?
The way the cost of living has gone up is fucking crazy. A 1-bedroom apartment is damn near $2,000 a month, which is crazy. Like, what? Food is steady going up. And it's just like, damn, what do y'all want me to do? Y'all want me to live on the street in a box and, eat out the garbage and drink my spit? Because at this point, that's what I'm finna fucking do. Because, no, I'm not finna pay for no $2,000 apartment and I'm barely in it, motherfucker. Because I'm always at work trying to keep the motherfucker. So, I don't know.
This is where it gets real. With nowhere to rent and no homes to buy, most people are left with 3 options. Move back in with parents, split rent with multiple roommates, end up homeless. That third one, it's happening more than people think. Homelessness is rising not just among the unemployed, but among people who work full-time jobs. Some live in cars. Others couch hop or camp outside because they just can't make the numbers work. Meanwhile, people online are shaming them, saying don't buy Starbucks or cut out avocado toast. But this isn't a budgeting issue. This is structural. The economy has inflated to the point that living independently is only possible if you're wealthy or lucky. The idea of making it on your own is becoming mythological, not because people don't work hard, but because hard work no longer guarantees stability.
I feel like, here's the deal. I feel like not enough people are talking about this. Talking about the fact that literally almost everybody is struggling. And the middle class in society is now unable to afford a lot of things that they used to be able to afford. Like traveling and going out to dinner and going to the movies and going clothes shopping and, like normal things. The inflation rate is just so insane. Like, I remember growing up and you could go to the store and get like a candy bar for $1, and then like when my mom was growing up, you could go to the store and get a candy bar for 50 cents. And now you go to the store, you get a candy bar for $3.49. And it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. And it's scary. Every single time I go into the grocery store, I nearly have a mini panic attack because I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I pick up something and it's $8. And I'm like, so we're at now like almost $5 minimum on every single item in the grocery store. And that adds up fast. And what's the solution for a lot of people? Make more money. So now everybody has a side hustle, whether they want to or not. Some people, it's a passion project, and the money is just a perk. Some people, it's because they need the money. Teachers and nurses and people that work their butts off and work long shifts and work really hard, they're not getting paid enough, and then they have to come home and work some more. They have a side hustle. Everybody has a side hustle now. And like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but there kind of is something wrong with that because our society is not built for us to live these days, to live comfortably. And like, yes, I'm young and I have investments, and luckily I have savings, and I'm not totally like poor, but I definitely consider myself broke still, like young, dumb, and broke. But like, I have plenty of time to hopefully set myself up for success and grow my money and keep investing and just doing good things with my money. But
there's 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds and 72-year-olds that are still working in stores and stuff because they can't afford to live. And when I think about that, I'm like, that is just so messed up, you know? And I assume a lot of the people that have platforms, the reason why they're not posting about this type of thing is because they're not struggling the way the everyday people are. But with social media, there's like kids that are richer than adults now because they went viral on social media. And there are so many influencers that are posting their kids and making money off them, which even though they're using that money to give their kid a good life in most cases, it still just feels so messed up that you're posting your adorable kid online, getting all of these views and likes and comments and shares and making a lot of money off of them. And yes, in certain states, they're starting to put in laws where you have to give the kid a certain percent of that money. But think about the LeBron fam. As soon as that law passed in California, they left just so they didn't have to give their kids a portion of the money that their kids are helping them make. And people are exploiting their children for money, and that's just sick. That's a whole other thing. But I feel like a lot of people are just struggling in silence, and I just wanted to come on here and say, like, why aren't more people talking about this? But also, you're not alone. A lot of people are struggling now, and it's unfortunate, and our government, our leaders need to do something about it. Because the economy and inflation just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And if most people can't afford to live now, what about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? What about 15 years from now? We're all screwed. We're all screwed.
So what now? We can't change inflation overnight. We can't force landlords to lower rent. But what we can do is expose this for what it is, a system that was never built for us. We need more people talking about this. More renters' unions. More tenant protections. More demand for affordable housing that's actually affordable. Not luxury condos with low-income units that still cost $1,800. We need young people to stop blaming themselves and start organizing, because the more we normalize this crisis, the more we delay the change. The truth is, millennials and Gen Z have been dealt a losing hand. They were promised a future that simply doesn't exist anymore. And until housing, wages, and opportunity catch up with reality, we'll continue to see a generation stuck at home, or worse, on the streets. If you're listening to this while lying in your childhood bedroom, working 2 jobs, wondering how you're still not able to afford your own place, this isn't your fault. And if you've ever felt embarrassed about living at home, having roommates at 30, or needing help with rent, don't. You're doing what you have to do in a system that set you up to struggle. The goal is to survive. The power comes when we call it out together. Adios.